Alexandra de Juniac is the CEO and Director General of IATA. You're familiar, the International Air Transport Association, the main body representing global airlines. Alexandra will be stepping down from that post in 2021 to be replaced by Willie Walsh. However, Alexandra told me the situation for airlines is worse than initially thought, and more government help is urgently needed.
The crisis is lasting longer than we expected at the beginning, and is probably deeper than we have expected before. You know, first we thought at the beginning that the crisis could last a few months, and that we will have a recovery, or the beginning of a recovery during summer, and the recovery stopped, and even the traffic dropped again in September and October. So the impact of the crisis is really high.
Huge amounts of government money have been put into various airlines, of what, buyouts, buy-ins, share purchases, loans, debt write-offs. Will it be enough?
No, we don't think so. We are asking for additional money from government, something around $70 to $80 billion additional money. What we say to government is, please help us a bit further. It will be a good investment for the money you have already put in the system, to continue and not to let everything down. First of all, it will be good for the recovery of the economy. But thirdly, we say to government, if you could avoid using debt instruments, that would be much better for the industry, which is already too heavily indebted.
If you use cash injections and equity and that sort of stuff, you do end up with an industry owned by government. You don't really want that either, do you?
We are not particularly in favor of a fully nationalized industry, but if it is a temporary period in which the stake of states is bigger, it's not a big problem, knowing that the final target would be to resell the shares on the market as it has been done before. If we remember the financial and economic crisis in 2008, the U.S. government bought, if you remember, General Motors and resold it pretty well. And frankly, it worked.
The critics will say a lot of the airlines, admittedly, nobody could have withstood this sort of pressure, but that they didn't help themselves by share buybacks, dividends, large amounts of financial balance sheet re-engineering that took place in the good days, and that they might have been a little bit better to withstand it.
It's an industry that is so capital intensive, that requires so high investment, by purchasing aircraft that are pretty costly, that, we need the money, and a huge part of the money we earn, just to finance our own survival, not only the survival, but the extension of our business. So I wouldn't blame, the airlines to have done some buybacks in the good years, because they haven't done so much. It hasn't been massive. But what I would say is that this crisis shows that probably the financial model of the airline business has to be strengthened. We should rely on more solid balance sheet and probably more profitable P&Ls. That's 2 points that are critical, especially when you come to crisis time.
There's only one way to get more profitable P&Ls: cut costs or raise prices.
Yes, so some would argue that it would also lead to reduced competition. But we have to be conscious that it's a sector that is financially fragile.
IATA is an organization that can sometimes be a sleepy organization, in the sense of you're there, you're doing the daily work of the airline industry, but all of a sudden you've been thrust absolutely front and center at the number one industry that's been affected by all of this. What's it been like?
We are pretty used to crisis and exceptional times. And we have we have been facing, the volcano, the economic crisis in 2008, September 11, etc. So there is a kind of, how could I say, methodology and use of difficult and exceptional times. But this one has been particularly violent, brutal, and disastrous for us. We shifted IATA into a crisis mode, and it was done in 1 hour. In 1 hour, everybody, the 1,800 staff, they moved into a crisis mode to defend this industry because they felt immediately that we were really, really in a difficult situation, and they wanted to fight.